All right, Shawn Porter, man, come on, man, come on. Dog, it's hard to try to be a Shawn Porter fan. Now Shawn Porter is talking about the Terence Crawford fight and saying he does not know if it makes sense right now for the fight to happen. Pre-Paul, is Shawn pulling a bit of a prima donna? Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Shawn Porter says that he does not know if the Terence Crawford fight with Terence Crawford right now makes sense. Okay, first, I'm going to address this as if we're not in the middle of pretty much a boxing shutdown, okay? I know right now that you can say that no fight makes sense right now, okay? No fight. Because we don't know when boxing is going to come back, when there's going to be live crowds, right? You've got some fledgling, some beginnings of motion starting to take place in the boxing world. There's a couple cards that are supposed to be going on with Top Rank in June. I think the UK also said that they approved fights with very small crowds. So, the Nevada State Athletic Commission is the organization that is allowing the Top Rank cards to go forward. All right, so there's starting to be movement in boxing, but there is no fight right now that really makes sense, okay? Terence Crawford, Errol Spence doesn't make sense right now. Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury doesn't make sense. Anthony Joshua Pulev doesn't make sense because all of the constraints that are there for Shawn Porter versus Terence Crawford are there for every other fight, okay? So when I'm talking about this, I'm going to talk about it as if, we're talking about the fight taking place when boxing matches can actually take place, okay? Right? So with that in mind, what Shawn Porter is saying to me is very, very disappointing. And it shows to me again that this guy is, I don't know if it's a prima donna type of thing or if he doesn't want to fight Terence Crawford. I think it's more of a prima donna type of thing with Shawn Porter. I think Shawn Porter sees himself as a top tier heavyweight. As a top tier welterweight who has the option of a Manny Pacquiao fight, an option of a Errol Spence Jr. fight, an option that he has these options for these fights for guys that are champions with the PBC. And I just don't see it. I don't see it. Shawn Porter has already fought Danny Garcia. He's already fought Shawn Porter. Errol Spence Jr. is booked, and he's booked for a while. Manny Pacquiao is booked, and he's booked for a while, and he's not interested in fighting Shawn Porter. And Errol Spence Jr. just fought Shawn Porter. So of all the people that are out there, who is there for Shawn Porter to fight that he has not already fought and that people want to see? The answer to that is Jaron Ennis and Terence Crawford and Virgil Ortiz. Those are the people that are out there for Shawn Porter. We've already seen Ugas. Already saw Ugas. Ugas is in a position where he can be the mandatory challenger for a belt. Shawn Porter, so for Shawn Porter to say that he doesn't know if it is a smart move for him right now, it's mind-boggling. Now, if he was saying that behind closed doors, right? Where he was saying, having conversations with Al Heyman or whoever else, and they're telling him, hey, it's really not the time right now. And he could say, hey, man, it's not the time right now. There's just no way around it for me, man. I just can't get my head around it because I don't know who else he has to fight. In my opinion, Shawn Porter should be pushing harder for the Terence Crawford fight than he's pushing for any other fight, because that is a guy that literally has nobody else to fight. It is a scenario where it could be where I think it's worthy of a pay-per-view fight personally. But I know what the ticket sales have been. I know what the ticket sales have been for Terence Crawford. But also there's a side on Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is pretty much sounding the same way the Shawn Porters sounding, and they're both kind of reiterating the same thing. It seems as if both of these guys are like, all right, where are each other's option of last resort? Terence Crawford doesn't want to waste his time with Shawn Porter. Shawn Porter doesn't want to waste his time with Terence Crawford, because they both think that they are both in line to get a fight with either Errol Spence Jr. or Manny Pacquiao. And although I can understand from a business point of view why they would be like that, because the truth be told, Shawn Porter can beat Terence Crawford. So I could see why Terence Crawford, and I'm not saying will beat him, I said he could beat him. That's a huge step. That is a huge step up for Terence Crawford in the level of competition that he's faced. Huge step up, right? That is not Jeff Horn, right? That's not Amir Khan. That's not David Bennett. That's not Jose Benavidez. Shawn Porter is a legitimate top level or I'll say second tier, because I do believe he's below Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford. And I think he's there in the same level with, I'll put Manny Pacquiao on that level too, regardless if he's got a belt or not. I saw the Shawn Porter fight, but him, Shawn Porter, Danny Garcia, maybe a level above Ugas because of Ugas's lack of recognition or whatever. But both Errol Spence but he's not. Both of these guys are obviously looking for the same two guys to fight. What would be best for this, and I think what would be a pleasant surprise for boxing fans, is if people in that division really did say, hey man, let me take a chance in this fight. And even if it is that you got to take a little less money to make the fight work, but one of those two guys, if they're able to win that fight, there is no more question about whether or not these guys are top welterweights and really deserve the fight with Errol Spence Jr. or Manny Pacquiao. But as is, neither one of those guys are going to get those fights, and it's going to be the same reason. Now, one thing that Shawn Porter said that I thought was interesting was he also pulled I'm with ESPN, he's with Fox, so the fight really doesn't make sense. The main reason he said it didn't make sense was because the guys are from two different networks, right? That sounds like it's very reasonable, but man, come on. There's only so many big fights. You're going to have Top Rank, who is going to be struggling to put on fights that people actually want to see. PBC, probably not so much because they have so many guys within the same division, but guys again that have all fought, who've already fought Shawn Porter. It just doesn't make sense to me. And quite honestly, man, it's disappointing to hear that out of Shawn Porter. It's disappointing to hear it out of Terence Crawford. And I just don't know what's going to happen. I just don't know what's going to happen with Shawn Porter, man. I think that maybe what he's going to try to do is he'll take some more fights, lesser fights for less money, but more of the fights. So maybe he figures that if he takes on a Josecito Lopez, maybe fights Josecito Lopez, and then he fights, God, I don't even know who else there is that Shawn Porter hasn't fought, that he'll be able to have, multiple paydays, multiple small paydays instead of one big one. I don't think that this is a smart move for Shawn Porter. I think he should just go ahead, try to make the fight. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at this alarm. He should go ahead, try to make this fight with Terence Crawford, give boxing fans what they want to see, and let the best man win. Trying to maneuver himself into fights that he is not going to be able to get because he thinks he's the pay-per-view star or something like that. I just don't think it's going to work, man. Even I know I'm going on a little bit about this, but this is just a video that kind of frustrates me. Shawn Porter seems to me to think that, like, I happen to know from conversations that took place with Shawn Porter and Errol Spence Jr. that Errol Spence Jr. Shawn Porter fight if you don't recall, that fight was delayed for a while. Like the negotiations of it took a longer time than a lot of people expected it. And that, my understanding, is because Shawn Porter was the guy that was pushing that fight to be pay-per-view. And the people in the PBC and didn't believe that it was a pay-per-view fight. But the only way Shawn Porter would take that fight is if it was going to be on pay-per-view. So if he did that with Terence Crawford, then with Errol Spence Jr., more than likely he's doing it with Terence Crawford. And he's just thinking about Terence Crawford as a fight. In order for him to take it, has to be pay-per-view. And I just don't believe it, man. I don't think that fight, the only way that Shawn Porter and Terence Crawford become a pay-per-view fight is if Terence Crawford beats Errol Spence Jr. and Manny Pacquiao, and then the Shawn Porter fight happens. But, dude, I just wish you would just go on ahead, fight the fight, say, at the very least, say you want the fight and push Terence Crawford to turn down the fight or push him to accept the fight, whatever it is, and then move on about it, man. But this idea somehow that Shawn Porter is this mega pay-per-view star that is in line for an Errol Spence Jr. and Manny Pacquiao fight, it just doesn't sit right with me, doesn't sound right, and I wish he'd give it up. Anyway, sorry if this was more of a rant type of video, but it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.